Here, we're going to build upon what we learned in the intro GPS lesson. Now that we know how to obtain our location and also display it on the map, let's see how we can use it to return to any place. The most common example of this is to return to, say, our car that we parked somewhere, but in general, this is a way to return to any place. The only requirement is that we've been there before. To do this, we need to start at the location we want to come back to, say the parking lot. As we park the car, we need to obtain our present location, which we know how to do from the intro lesson, and store it on the phone internal storage, which we also know how to do from the TinyDB lesson. At some later time, being somewhere else, we want to return to the car, so we need to obtain our current location over there and gather directions to the parked car. In the intro lesson, we have shown how everything is built from scratch, both in the designer and block editors. But here we want to use our time to explain everything in detail, hence the code is already built. So let's see first what we have here in the designer window. At the top, in the horizontal arrangement, we placed one button for saving the location and the other to obtain directions. In between is a switch that we can toggle for directions by foot or by car. Below we inserted the map, just as in the intro lesson, and instead of a single marker, we inserted two, the red one for the current position and the green one for the destination. We also added this line string on the map, which we will use to trace a path between our starting point and destination. The final visible component is a list viewer, which will display our step-by-step directions. As for the other invisible components, we see them here below and here on the side. We added the TinyDB for storage, location sensor for the GPS communication, and the navigation service for clearly navigation. Now, onto the most important part, which is the code itself. First, just as we did in the intro, we're hiding our map until we obtain our location, which is done when the screen is initialized right here. What is new here is that to use the navigation service, OpenRoute service, which is integrated in the app Inventor, requires an API key. Remember, we had a playlist completely devoted to application programming interfaces, APIs. However, here we do not really need any of that knowledge, since the whole communication is already built into the navigation procedure. The only thing we need is the API key, which is free and can be obtained at their website right here in about 2 minutes. So you will need to obtain your own key and copy it right here. Next, we'll be using the current latitude and longitude positions, so we define these two variables right here. The first action in our code is to find the current location and mark it on the map. This is exactly what we did in the first intro lesson, and this action when location sensor location changed right here is therefore just copied from there. In order, we assign the current positions to their variables, center our map about that position right here, then we also position the marker at that location right here, make the map visible, and set the zoom level according to the detail we want to see. From this point, we have two options: to either save the current position if we are at the place we want to return to, or to get directions from our current position to the already saved destination. So if we press the Save button right here, all we need to do is to use the TinyDB internal storage component, as recently explained in detail in a separate lesson. So we call the TinyDB to store a value. Remember now that the data are stored in pairs with a tag, so we call our tag location right here, and under this tag we save a list with two items, latitude and longitude. If we want to go to the save destination instead, then we press the directions button, right? So we first need to prep everything before calling for the directions. In order, we set our API key, right, to call the navigation later. And then we set our transportation method to by foot as a default. Still, after that, we check whether the switch is toggled to car, so to change to the car if it is. We also set our starting latitude and longitude in navigation as our current position. Next, we set the destination latitude and longitude, but for that we need to read them from the local storage, right? So we call again tinydb, now this time to get a value from there under the tag location and extract two items, right? We extract the latitude and we extract the longitude as the second item in the list that we saved. Then, after that, we position the end marker to that location as well, right? So this was done right here for the end marker. After that, we want to zoom in right at the area bounded by our starting and ended location. So we set this map bounding box based on our 4 coordinates, right, that we have. So we have 2 coordinates for the starting position, latitude and longitude, and then we have 2 coordinates for the destination, latitude and longitude. So after all this prep work, we're ready to call the navigation right here and to request directions. So there's only one step left. The last action is triggered when we actually get these directions from navigation. What we do after that, right, when we get directions, we set the color and the line thickness for the path and then map the points, right, from here to our line string. We map this point, this is our path, and then the last step is to actually display these directions, right? From here, we display them in our list view step by step. Now we can demonstrate how this all works on the mirrored phone screen right here. So when the app is started, we see that the map is invisible, right, as we set it before we actually obtain our location. We see 2 buttons to save the location or to get the directions, and also we see the switch where we can switch between the directions by foot and by car. You see, as soon as the location is obtained, the map is shown with the marker in red marking our current position. So from this point, we have 2 options. We can either save this position or we can get directions from this position to whatever destination is already saved on our phone. So pressing save button is not much fun, right? We're just gonna basically save this position. So we're gonna demonstrate the directions, right? So all we need to do is press the directions, and then as soon as we do that right now, right, we see that now we see also the destination. In this case, as we were driving past the SeaWorld Orlando, we saved this position. So we practically getting directions from our current position to the SeaWorld Orlando, right, in this case. So we see here, these are the positions by foot, right? Likely we won't be going by foot here. So let's switch quickly to car. So we toggle here, right? And we press directions once again. So it's the same starting point and the same destination, but this time we're getting a turn-by-turn directions by car. So this will be it for this time, but there will be more topics on GPS applications later. Until then, bye.